Hey, welcome back tuning into today's video. Going to have a quick look at December for today's video. Going to start December, but I'm also having a torrid old time of it, trying to figure out the pattern in around a week to 10 days time. Of course, that's taking us into the first week of December. Yesterday's idea was that the Atlantic is going to go crashing through and give us a very warm or very mild sort of start to December with a lot of westerly winds and heavy rain. But things are shifting a little bit this morning. We'll have a look at all the charts in a moment. Also going to have a look at the Beijing Climate Centre again towards the end of the video. I did a video on Friday saying that there's been a dramatic switch around in the Beijing Climate Centre. It's gone back to where it started in August, predicted a colder than average winter. I just want to show you how the model has evolved as we've gone through the autumn. Very interesting, the swings that have taken place from this model since August. So we'll get on with that in a moment. Before I get on with all of that though, just want to say about the ads. There's links to articles sitting underneath the weather video here on my homepage at gazweathervids.com. If you have a browse through the widget, you can see if there's any articles that you're interested in. If there is, you can just click through and go off and read those articles. There's green keyword ads on some of the pages. If you right cursor over green keywords, they display ads. Please click through the word, go to advertise website. We're supporting gazweathervids.com by doing that. There's an ad unit down near the comment box as well. They're contextual, so they should be mainly weather related. Click through those if you're interested in what they are showing. And finally, Gaz Shop is open, so if you've got any Christmas shopping to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just go to Gaz Shop, and then from there you can click through the Amazon banner. That's the key to that. Go through the Amazon banner, and because you've gone from Gaz Weathervids to Amazon, you'll be able to do your Christmas shopping there as normal. But Gaz Weathervids is getting a royalty fee on the things that you're purchasing. These things are essentially paying for websites, so thanks very much for getting involved and doing that. So just start off with the 500 millibar hydrogen anomaly flow charts for the next 8 to 10 days time. We've got the ECMWF on the left. The GFS is over on the right, and 500 millibars, 8,000 feet is an area in the atmosphere where high pressure and low pressure are developing, being moved around by the jet stream. So this takes up to around the 3rd, 4th of December, and quite interesting from the ECMWF, you can see that we've got this big red area here, a big area of above average height sitting to the north and to the northeast of British Isles, with low pressure being cut off down to the south. The effect of that would be to swing the winds into the east. Now, there's not a great deal of cold air with those easterly winds coming in, because the cold air is still around the back of the high pressure and up to the north of it, through the polar regions, through the Arctic, coming down into central western parts of Russia. It's very, very, very close to starting to tap into that cold air and begin to pull it westwards in towards Europe, but it still just isn't quite right to get that cold air in. So we won't be bringing all that much cold air through, but nevertheless it's a very interesting pattern that the ECMWF is placing us firmly in a block sort of scenario. Notice the pattern over America is changing as well. It's easing, at least for a time, with this ridge of high pressure setting up across eastern parts of the states and the trough out in the northwest. So the cold air is going down into the north and west of the states, or the northwest part of the states with that, and then it's turning milder over central, northern and eastern areas with that ridge, something like that. Now that ridge is probably going to collapse and allow this trough out in the northwest to push back through again and produce another cold plunge, I would suspect, in east parts of America, but at least for a time the pattern is moderating. Now the GFS is somewhat different to the ECM, and as I said, there's been models are having a torrid time trying to work out what's going on with this. They are both seeing this change in pattern for America, with the ridge in the east and the trough out to the west, but for us the GFS wants to place a ridge more or less through the country, really, an area of high pressure building through the British Isles, and there isn't a great deal of the high pressure post Scandinavia, although notice this ridge up here right over top of the pole, that becomes quite important. I'll show you the charts in a moment, but the GFS is seeing that these two ridges could merge together and begin to pull winds into the north. So all in all, very interesting charts this morning. Let's have a look at them. Here's the GFS generic chart for Sunday the 30th, and we've got high pressure sort of ridging through the country there. As I said, the GFS is keen to ridge high pressure through There's the high pressure up over western parts of Russia, extending this high pressure out in the Atlantic. We're bringing generally a westerly flow through, so it isn't cold and it's quite unsettled up in the north with some outbreaks of rain. As we go through to a week's time, and this takes us to the start of December, Monday the 1st of December, we bring an area of low pressure down across the country that could bring wet and windy weather through as the ridge between those two high pressures, one in the Atlantic and one to the east, is sort of broken temporarily. Now, the midnight run of the GFS then wants to take that low pressure into Scandinavia. It's quite a deep trough, and there's that nose of high pressure coming out of the Arctic that I showed you on the height anomaly chart. That starts to ridge to this high pressure in the Atlantic. That's quite an unusual pattern, but that's what the GFS wants to do on its latest run. And as we get through to 216 hours away, which takes us to Wednesday the 3rd of December, we've got a big cold trough of low pressure over Scandinavia, and this high pressure through the Atlantic is ridging to this high pressure nosing out of the Arctic. So winds are going into the north, it's getting a lot colder, comes some wintry showers in the north, there's probably the risk of night frost as well. And as we get through to day 10, this is Thursday the 4th of December, we have high pressure ridging through the country, and so we've got high pressure more or less centred across the British Isles. That will be cold high pressure, so daytime temperatures with that just 3, 4, 5 degrees, and at night it would be frosty as well, with cold air, perhaps snow, plunging down through Scandinavia into central parts of Europe, and just very quickly extending out beyond that. I don't normally go beyond day 10, but this is Friday the 5th of December, day 11, and high pressure then is setting up over Scandinavia itself. That high pressure is reaching through the country into Scandinavia. The winds are beginning to pull back into the east, go through to day 12, Saturday the 6th of December, and there we are, we're in an easterly wind. So that's an evolution to get from a westerly to an easterly. It's surprising how quickly it can happen. It can happen in just a space of 2 or 3 days, but the pattern completely switches around, and by Saturday the 6th of December, the midnight run of the GFS does place us into that easterly. That's a cold easterly as well, because the northerly wind has already introduced that cold air down. So if I go back, there's the northerly wind introducing the cold air around the back of the high pressure into Central Europe. So by the time we get into that easterly on Saturday the 6th, the cold air is available across the continent to push in on those easterly winds. So very interesting run from the GFS, but as I say, it's chopping and changing a lot. That's usually indicative that there's some sort of change in the works, actually, when the models are sort of flip-flopping around trying to agree on the pattern. That's normally a sign that something's going on. And that's what I've got at the moment. A lot of model variability, a lot of switching around. So I'm just going to have to wait and see how it happens. I'm a bit unconvinced about that easterly. I would suspect what's probably going to happen as we get into start of November is that high pressure will build through the country, probably give us a very frosty, foggy spell of weather, perhaps through the first week or so of December. But whether that high pressure really gets into Scandinavia and taps into that cold air, I'm a little bit more dubious about that. Here's the ECMWF for Sunday. And we've got the same idea for GFS, really. The high pressure is bridging from the Atlantic to this area of high pressure across western parts of Russia. Really sort of a slack easterly flow. Isn't particularly cold, really, with that one. There's no real cold air over the continent. And what happens with the ECMWF is that the easterly just gets more and more pronounced, really, as we go through next week. This is the 1st of December. We are in an easterly flow, not a particularly cold one, but it'll be cold, it'll be dank and chilly, misty, murky weather coming in with that easterly probably. But as I say, the cold air is to the north and the east of this high pressure, so we're not really tapping in to the cold air. As we go through next week, we keep the high pressure ridging from the Atlantic up towards Scandinavia, so we keep the winds in from the east. So very chilly week coming up if that was to come off, pretty raw week, but the really cold air is yet to be available across the continent. We move through to day 10 as far as we can go with the ECMWF, Thursday the 4th of December, and we're firmly in an easterly flow then. The high pressure is strong over Scandinavia, bringing in those easterly winds. Difficult to say how cold the air is down on the surface, of course, just because it's warm or mild aloft. It could be cold on the surface, so it's difficult to say quite what the temperatures are with that, but the really cold air, again, the polar air or the Siberian air, is still up to the north and the east of that high pressure. We need to bring this trough here down into Europe, as the GFS does. Actually, we need to bring that down into Central Europe to be able to tap into that properly cold air from the east. But it's certainly interesting what the models are doing in this one. This is a big switch around on what they were showing yesterday. So can't have a great deal of confidence, but when they're flip-flopping about, it's normally a sign that something is going on, so have to keep an eye on where that's going. Now, I showed you the Asian Climate Centre on Friday. That shifted back to a cold winter. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart with this area of high pressure above average heights anyway. See to the north country, cold trough with those blue colours over the country. That's a proper cold sort of pattern that the Asian Climate Centre is seeing on this month's update for the winter. Here's the temperature forecast that goes with that. Below average stretch of British Isles, significantly, substantially cold winter being signalled for most of Europe, particularly Central and Northern Europe. It indicates have a very cold winter there with those blue colours. This is indicative of how we started in August. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly chart from August. A very extreme blocking pattern was being signalled then. You may remember it. It's just about the first update I did talking about the winter. Had those red colours up over Greenland, a very deep trough over the British Isles, and the temperature anomaly back in August for the winter was for a cold winter there for the British Isles and for most of Scandinavia. Not as cold as the latest update for central parts of Europe, interestingly, but that idea has been moderating through the autumn. So this was the 500 millibar height anomaly prediction that we had in September. Again, we've still got the trough over the country, but much less blocking and more centred around Newfoundland. So whilst there would be cold interludes with that sort of anomaly, generally you would be getting the winds coming in off the Atlantic. So it's still a cool winter being signalled there in September, but not as extreme as the anomaly was in August. We get to October and the cold winter is completely gone by October. All of the blocking is removed from Greenland and out across Newfoundland as well. And what the model is doing in October is placing a ridge more or less through the country. So it's mainly a dry and fairly mild sort of scenario that the Asian Climate Centre was seeing in October's update, last month's update. And there's the confirmation with the temperature anomaly forecast. We was in those orange colours then, indicating a milder than average winter, as was the case for most of Central Europe as well. But going back to the latest anomaly, again, we've more or less gone back to where we started. Not as extreme with the blocking, not quite up to the red colours, but that significant blocking being signalled there for Greenland, most definitely. The cold trough underneath it. And yeah, we've shifted from that warmer than average winter in October to a significantly colder than average winter being predicted in November. And it just goes to show you how these models change from month to month. It's difficult to say what causes these changes, really, but of course the significant factor is that most of these charts are generated right at the start of the month. So October's update, which is the mildest one, was generated more or less on the 1st of October probably. And of course that doesn't take into account the rapid build-up of snow cover that occurred across Russia during October itself. This cold winter chart was probably generated on the 1st of November, and it has all of that data in it that we had from the snow cover that built up across Russia during October itself. So I would suspect that's the difference probably, that the milder one doesn't have the snow cover from Russia within its data set. I would suspect that could be responsible for some of the chopping and changing that's gone on. But anyway, the very latest one from the Asian Climate Centre is definitely for a colder than average winter, and the charts are beginning to look quite interesting as we're going into the start of November. So the plot's thickening. Come back tomorrow to see what the latest instalment is showing, and that's it for now. Thanks for watching.